especially, I mean, look at Lincoln Hills, which is a good example. I was asking for them to please move along the investigation. The Attorney General's office was dragging their feet unbearably on it. I asked the governor's office to intercede dozens of times and was kind of shuffled off. And I couldn't understand why. You know, we would go to them and tell them for Lincoln Hills we needed more cameras, we needed more money, we were having trouble hiring people and keeping them.
And this was before the FBI got involved?
Yes, okay. Yeah. The FBI involvement at the end, in my opinion, was a Hail Mary passed by the Department of Justice. Okay. They just wanted to get it out of their lap. The things that became very apparent to me as the investigation, if that's what you can call it, went on, were that it had been completely botched. We had gone to the Department of Justice. When that information came to me in November of 2014, they came to me telling me we had information that kids might be hurt. And it was state employees that were doing it. I immediately asked the Office of Special Operations to come in and conduct the investigation, identify potential victims, identify the staff that might be involved. It took until January before they came back to me and said, we've got information to go on. And when they did, I said the only people we should call a Division of Criminal Investigation because it's the only agency with statewide criminal jurisdiction. Yeah. When I called them, though, they looked at it as more of an internal affairs investigation, and they didn't really want to take it. And then the commitment to the case was they put one agent on it part-time for 10 months, and we were constantly put on the back burner.
Well, do you think they didn't understand the scope of the problems there?
Absolutely understood that, and that's what troubled me with the statements I saw coming from the Attorney General. And one in particular, toward a year after this was done, they said, well, do you think you should have put more resources into it? And he said, yeah, hindsight's 20/20. There was no hindsight involved. We were telling the Department of Justice all along, this is a critical case. We've got kids potentially harmed, and we were getting told we're putting you on the back burner for various cases. And I said, what's more important than kids getting hurt by state employees that you're putting us on the back burner?
Well, these are pretty serious allegations you're making here. Some people might look at it and say, well, this is retribution for you because you ended up on the outs as a result of the investigation, and then you didn't really get to keep your job at DCI either. How do you respond to those people?
No, that's nonsense. And what's the good thing about the DOC is they keep incredible records. And I'll talk about that in my book extensively. And the Department of Justice, the Attorney General made comments that I should have done more. Department of Corrections did everything we could. The Department of Justice wouldn't share information with us. They wouldn't give us basics. And I'll give you an example. I asked them, I demanded they come and give me a briefing because they were very short on facts for us. They came down and they brought the Assistant Attorney General and some other staff, and I had my executive staff. They started to give me the briefing. They laid out a timeline that went the length of my conference table, almost 20 feet long. And I noticed huge gaps between it, weeks and weeks, where nobody was being interviewed or any work was being done. And we had told the Department of Justice early on, we want you to put all your resources into this quickly, but when you had one agent coming in every few weeks, it spooled the kids up. I felt that personally when I went up there, and kids are yelling at me, I'm being beaten, I'm being tortured. But when I go and talk to them, they say, well, it wasn't me, but I heard somebody else. They wanted the place closed down. And when they gave me this briefing, they said to me, well, you have 5 youths that had their arms broken. And I turned to my staff and I said, I've only been told about 3 people. And they said, yes, sir, just 3. And I turned back to the Department of Justice Assistant Attorney General. I said, you do have the medical reports on these kids, right? Yeah. And he said, no. This was 10 months into the investigation. And I said, well, do you have the incident reports? No. I said, so 10 months into the investigation, you're telling us that 5 kids are broken arms, and you didn't even ask for the incident reports or the medical reports.
Okay.